Hey, hi, and hello, everyone. Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. I hope you are doing well. It's time for our weekly track roundup, where I give my thoughts on a bunch of songs that have dropped over the past week or so, whether I loved them, hated them, or fell somewhere in between. Yes, that is the point of this segment. Every track I talk about is linked down below, so you can check it out for yourself. And also linked down below is our Turntable Lab link. We get kickback from it if you happen to buy some vinyl or turntable stuff over there. Supports us in the process. That would be great. Also, our Patreon page is down there if you want to get some extra bonus monthly content while supporting us in the process. That would be cool too. And yes, our YouTube Shorts page is kicking ass down in the description box as well. Growing every week over there. Awesome. Great. Amazing. Mwah. And of course, shout out to our continued sponsor over here on the channel, good people over at The Ridge, still making these amazing, sleek, minimalist, metal-plated wallets that fit nicely in that front pocket. Use promo code MELON, 10% off that order. All you gotta know. Moving on from there, we have the worst tracks of the week. We have a handful, we have a few. Let's not dwell on it. Here we go. First off, new one from Oliver Tree and David Guetta. It is a nauseatingly bad house cut with some terrible lead vocals on it. Really tacky and predictable. And the cover here for the single gives me a migraine. Let's keep going. We also have a new one from Nicki Minaj over here that a lot of people are freaking out about. People are saying, oh man, she broke the internet with this track, Red Ruby, the Sleeze. Oh man. And you know, granted, she does fire some shots at some people who she's had tensions with as of late, but a couple of things. One, it's kind of unfortunate that Nicki can't drop a big single these days without some kind of like obvious interpolation going on or something like that. And on top of that, some of the bars on this track are not good. They're not quality. Like the nachos line is awful. The David Guetta line, not the David Guetta, but what's wrong with me? I'm thinking of David Guetta just because he was on the screen a few minutes ago. The Christopher Reeves line that she just lets hang there forever is absolutely, positively awful. And I think one of the worst things she has put to tape. It's just a really tacky track where clearly she's going into it with an energy of like, yeah, this is a track where I'm going to bring the attitude. You're going to get bars. But I just don't really think there are that many impressive bars on the cut. I mean, sure, it's shades better than numerous other artists out there that are just not and have never been on Nicki's level. But I think she's, underperforming for her. I'll say that. Moving on from there, we have a new one from Dijon over here. The track Coogie is a pretty difficult listen, in my opinion. While I know that Dijon tends to bring together a lot of interesting sounds and genres into a very eclectic and unique soup of music, this song specifically just feels like a total miss to my ears and just doesn't really have a sonic or a musical direction, really. It just kind of feels like a sloppy mess of instrumentation that doesn't really go much of anywhere, hoping for something more solid and clear from him at some point in the future. Also not really liking this new Ashnikko track either. Just feels like it's loaded with really generic production for her, from the perks to the plucky guitar bits. I just don't really think this song reflects on her personality in a very kind of unique or specific way. It just kind of feels like very dime a dozen production for, frankly, a pretty dime a dozen song. Moving on from there, we also have this one over here from Black, Since I Have a Lover, which just feels like some very mid and underwhelming Frank Ocean, like early Frank Ocean worship, honestly. I thought that, generally his sound and style was more interesting than this, but it feels like he's wearing his influences on his sleeve just a little too hard on this one, in my opinion. All right, we have a blank space here. That's always great. All right, next we have the tracks that I was just kind of meh on the fence on, not super crazy about, but still thought they were worth a shout out. They are as follows. We have this new one from a Squid Pisser over here, who I have shouted out in another recent weekly track roundup. The Everlasting Bloat is the name of this one. These guys are kind of bringing those old school noisecore vibes back in a big way, but I think this track could have gone a lot harder. Frankly, it's not maybe as overwhelming as some of the classic stuff that clearly the band is pulling from. from, and they're not really kind of pushing it to a new level, in my opinion, at least on this track. We have this track over here from Sparks, which has a very interesting music video attached to it as well. The title of this one, The Girl is Crying in Her Latte. And yeah, you know, it feels like the musical accompaniment to an art installation piece or something like that. Sure, it's got some interesting aesthetics to it, but it's very repetitive, and I feel like it could have used maybe a bit more progression as it plods along, frankly. We have this new one over here from Shygirl, which is essentially, you know, a remix of the song Heaven with Tinashe in the mix, and it sounds heavenly. It's nice. It's sweet on the ears. If you dug that track on the record, you will most likely dig this new feature-added version. We also have this new one from Lil Pump and Smokepurpp, dropping out of the blue to put out a new little project. The title track of it here is titled Tesla. And, you know, even though this SoundCloud era is kind of here and gone, it is cool to hear Lil Pump kind of channel back into that old school energy and have, you know, still a bit of a, like an artistic rapport with Purpp on this one. It's decent. It's okay. It's not too bad. We also have this new one from Princess Nokia over here. Princess Nokia artistically has proven over the years to be a bit of a chameleon. She does and tries a little bit of everything. You know, artistically, she is pretty out there and just creates to her heart's desire for the most part. And on this track, she goes for a bilingual, breathy little piano ballad with some light Lana Del Rey vibes kind of popping in here and there. And while I think it's competently written and put together, I wouldn't exactly say it's like, you know, a stunner or a new exciting sound for her or whatever. I think she tried her hand at it. It came out okay. I'm not exactly blown away by it, but maybe there are some people out there who aesthetically this would really kind of translate to. We also have a new one from thrash metal outfit extraordinaire Metallica, If Darkness Had a Sun. As the lyrics explain, the sun would be temptation. That's the lyrics. But yeah, James Hetfield and company, I think, are putting together a decent track on this one. It's okay. I think the performance is pretty hard hitting. It's aggressive. The energy of it is almost like regimented and militaristic in some respects, but I just don't think there's a whole lot going on here in terms of strong, memorable riffs or a tune, a melody, or anything like that. And some of the rhyme schemes are annoyingly basic. Again, I think the track is passable. I think it's okay. It's just not really Metallica outdoing themselves in any way, shape, or form. And on top of that, I think the song overall is, frankly, maybe a little long-winded as well. It's kind of bloated. I think it could have ended a lot earlier than it actually did. So we have this new one from Larry June and The Alchemist titled 89 Earthquake that I think is just okay in terms of rhymes and production. It's not really the blowout that I expect a new Alchemist single to be, frankly, but it is listenable. I'll give it that. We have a new one from J-Hope and J. Cole, which is also pretty listenable. Did a full review of this one on the Fantano channel. I think it's a pretty standard, hopeful, feel-good, kind of motivational, poster, inspirational rap song with some sort of melodramatic production. J. Cole really eats on this beat with some of the wordplay that he drops. J-Hope is not as impressive, but he does handle the hook, which is decent. It's just kind of merely okay, in my opinion. Not the fireworks, not the chemistry connection I was hoping for, considering how unique of a crossover this is. We have this new one from J. Skeese, as well as Conway the Machine. Metallic Fives is the title of it. The God of Grimy is back, and I think it's a pretty standard one for Conway, honestly. I'm not necessarily going crazy for it, but Conway vocally is in his bag, and I think this is exactly the kind of instrumental that you want to hear someone from Griselda over, so it works. It's fine. We also have this one from boygenius over here, which I think is maybe the safest song to come out of this album cycle so far. Not strong enough. I just think the instrumentation feels a lot blander in comparison with all the singles so far, and I'm not exactly sure as to why, but there's been quite a range of aesthetics and vibes coming off all these songs from boygenius thus far, so it's a little difficult to kind of tell the direction this is all going in. All right, we have the tracks that I was craziest about, the best tracks of the week in my opinion. They are as follows. Boom, we have this new one from Yves, Tumor. Heaven Surrounds Us Like a Hood. It's quite quirky. It's got some awesome aesthetic switch-ups across the track. It's very creative. It's very bold, like most Yves Tumor songs tend to be. And, a little lo-fi and very texturally out there as well. Some of the falsetto vocal passages are kind of neat too. So, it's a little difficult to explain and encapsulate in, a blurb because there are so many facets to it and it is so weird. But I think that's what makes Yves Tumor so interesting as an artist. It's difficult to explain the music in a succinct way. We also have this one over here from a project I'm just learning about called Water From Your Eyes. Barley is the name of the track, and it's got one of the quirkiest, most, I guess, discordant instrumentals I've heard in a while on a track that's pretty much a pop song. It's groovy, but also odd, but also snappy and catchy. And, I think this is maybe not going to appeal the widest of all the tracks that I'm talking about this week, but I do think it is fun and quite creative. We also have a new one from Spirit Possession over here. God, man, this is one of the most ferocious metal bands out there that's going to be dropping a record this year. Orthodox Weapons is the name of the track, and the switch-offs from the groovy riffs to the faster drum and guitar passages on this track are insane. Just Spirit Possession is just bringing a different level of intensity and performance, just speed and insanity on these tracks, teasing toward this next album of theirs. So really looking forward to this one. We also have this new one from Portugal, The Man. It's been a while since I've really enjoyed a single from PTM, but this track Dummy is quite fun. It's got a bouncy beat, some solid vocals, and just seems a little out there for them. It's got a fun music video attached to it too, so make sure to check this one out. I think this one's really sick. And digging also on this metal project, I just stumbled across on Bandcamp. The song below is Nausea Is All I Am, and this has to be some of the most brutal and ferocious black metal I've heard in a long time. The guitars have a really unique texture to them. The drums are great. There's quite a bit of noise to the performance as well. It's just savage. It's just hard hitting. I'm liking it a lot. The vocals sound a little unorthodox as well. It checks all those boxes that you would want for something in this vein, but simultaneously it's different enough to where it stands out as kind of unique. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to more from this project. Look it up. It's linked down below. And we also have one from Liturgy over here, which I'm also digging on. The track is titled Before I Knew the Truth. Liturgy, if you guys are not aware or are following, is one of the most interesting black metal projects also out there these days. And this forthcoming record, 93696, is undoubtedly going to be one of the biggest albums to come from Liturgy yet. And it's songs like this, Before I Knew the Truth, that are going to be why, because the guitar passages are insane, they're winding, they're mind-blowing, they're otherworldly, and just the grooviness and intensity, instrumentally speaking, that Liturgy brings to the table. There are just not a whole lot of parallels out there as far as like something like this, because it's just so left field, it's just so out there, and it's just so unforgiving, in terms of its energy. So really looking forward to hearing this album in full once it drops. And yes, also shout out to The Dare, which has a brand new cut out, which has been making the waves online. It's groovy. I think it's got some elements of noise rock, of Jack White, especially on the vocals, but then also has kind of that groovy LCD sound system, NYC kind of electro indie dance aesthetic quality to it that I think is really good. Good Time is the name of the track. So obviously it's a bit of a weird party track too. Check it out. It's hard hitting. It's fun. It's got some personality to it. It's got some balls. It's got a lot of attitude, and I'm liking it quite a bit. And that has been the weekly track roundup, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. You're the best. Love you. Remember, everything I talked about linked down below so you can check it out for yourself. And yeah, Anthony Fantano, weekly tracks forever.